There's a jar of whole cloves in most kitchens, usually forgotten in the back of a cabinet. It's inexpensive, it lasts practically forever, and yet it might be one of the more interesting spices you're not using. Today I want to walk through what clove water actually is, what the research genuinely shows about it, how to make it properly, and, just as importantly, who should be cautious with it. I'll be upfront. This isn't a miracle cure, and I'm not going to pretend it is. But there's real published research behind several of its effects, and that's worth 15 minutes of your time. Let's start with what's actually in a clove. The compound doing most of the work is called eugenol, along with smaller amounts of flavonoids and antioxidants. Eugenol is genuinely one of the most concentrated natural antioxidants found in a common spice, a widely cited 2010 study in the Journal of Food Science, which ranked antioxidant activity across dozens of herbs and spices, placed cloves near the very top of the list. That's a real finding, not marketing. When you simmer cloves in water for 15 to 20 minutes, some of that eugenol and those antioxidant compounds transfer into the water. That's the basic idea behind clove water, a simple infusion, not unlike tea. So what might it actually help with? Let's go through the areas where there's real, if often preliminary, evidence, and I'll be honest about the limits each time. Inflammation. Eugenol has been studied for its ability to inhibit certain inflammatory enzymes and reduce inflammatory markers in lab and animal studies. A 2012 study in the Journal of Immunotoxicology is one example. This doesn't mean clove water will erase joint pain or stiffness. It means there's a plausible biological mechanism observed mostly in controlled lab conditions that hasn't been well tested in large human trials for everyday aches. Digestion. Cloves have documented antimicrobial properties against certain bacteria strains, and eugenol may support the release of digestive enzymes like amylase and lipase. Some people do report less bloating when they add clove tea to their routine. That's plausible and reasonably well supported for a food-based intervention, though less bloating is very different from fixing a chronic digestive condition, which needs an actual diagnosis: sleep. This is one of the more interesting areas, though the evidence is thinner. Eugenol and beta-caryophyllene appear to interact with GABA pathways, the nervous system's calming circuitry, in some smaller studies, including research published in the Journal of Sleep Medicine and Disorders. Warm herbal drinks in general are also just a reasonable part of a wind-down routine, independent of any specific compound. So a cup of warm clove water before bed might help you relax, partly through the ritual itself and partly possibly through the compounds. Blood sugar and blood pressure. There is early research, including a 2019 study in food chemistry on glucose uptake, and other studies looking at mild vasodilation, effects on blood pressure, suggesting cloves may have modest effects here. I want to be very clear. These are early-stage findings, often in cell or animal models, and they are not a substitute for medication or medical monitoring. If you're managing diabetes or high blood pressure, clove water is not a replacement for your treatment plan, full stop. Liver and oral health. There's some evidence clove extract can reduce oxidative stress in liver cells, and separately, clove's antibacterial properties are well documented in dentistry. It's actually used in some dental applications for its antiseptic effect, which may explain occasional reports of fresher breath. Now here's the honest caveat that matters more than any of the above. Most of this research is done with concentrated extracts in lab settings, not with someone drinking a cup of mild clove tea once a day. The amounts and forms used in studies often don't match what you'd get from steeping a few cloves in water. That doesn't mean the tea does nothing, but it means the effects, if you notice any, are likely to be modest and gradual, not dramatic. How to make it if you want to try it. Bring 2 cups of water to a boil. Add 4 to 5 whole cloves, reduce the heat, cover the pot, and let it simmer gently for 15 to 20 minutes. Covering it helps keep the volatile compounds in the water, instead of evaporating off. Let it cool to a comfortable temperature, strain out the cloves, and drink it. Some people add a small amount of honey since the flavor is fairly strong and spicy on its own. A few practical notes. Don't exceed about 2 cups a day. Cloves are potent, and eugenol in excess can actually irritate the stomach or, in very high concentrated doses, cause liver issues. This is a case where more is not better. Who should be cautious? If you take blood thinners, this matters. Eugenol has mild anticoagulant properties, so combining it with blood-thinning medication could increase bleeding risk. If you're on blood sugar medication or insulin, talk to your doctor before adding a new food that might affect glucose levels, so your dosing stays accurate. The same caution applies if you have a bleeding disorder, stomach ulcers, IBS, or inflammatory bowel disease, or if you have surgery scheduled in the near future. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, it's best to skip concentrated clove preparations, since safety data in these groups is limited. If you decide to try it, a realistic way to think about it. Give it a couple of weeks, pay attention to how you actually feel, and don't expect it to replace anything your doctor has you doing. If you notice a genuine change in sleep, digestion, or how your mornings feel, great. That's a nice, low-cost addition to a routine. If you notice nothing, that's also a completely normal outcome, because individual responses to any food-based habit vary a lot, and not every promising lab finding translates into a noticeable, everyday effect. The bigger point here, honestly, is a broader one. Spices like cloves are worth taking seriously as part of a healthy diet. They're not just flavoring. Some of them carry real, measurable bioactive compounds. But worth taking seriously is different from miracle cure. And it's worth being skeptical of anything, including this video, that promises dramatic transformations from a single kitchen ingredient. Your sleep, your joints, your digestion, these are usually shaped by dozens of factors: medication, activity level, other health conditions, stress, and diet as a whole. Clove water might be one small, pleasant piece of a larger picture, not a replacement for any of it. If you found this useful, I'd genuinely like to know in the comments what part interested you most: the sleep research, the digestion angle, or the safety side of things. And as always, this is general information, not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before adding anything new to your routine, especially if you're managing a chronic condition or taking medication.